So as you mentioned, I'm all over Twitter, and that's where people know me from. I also founded Webflow SEO and content agency, which is called Content Nest. And we work with, if you're a developer or designer, we usually the ones that we're going to take your client builds after a few months after launch, and we're going to try to improve them, grow them, increase their traffic, and do all sorts of other stuff. I also have a weekly live stream, which is now like for a month on pause, but it's going to be back late September, maybe worst case scenario, a few weeks later than that. But where Marcel, I know, was one of the guests there. Yeah, we had fun there, and we had 2 hours about talking about what type of clients don't need SEO. But in general, we have guests every week, and we chat about all sorts of topics that I think are forgotten in the Webflow community a bit. And this is like a quick intro of why I kind of started doing all of this was because I was working as an SEO and with content since my first job more than 10 years ago. Eventually, I fell in love with Webflow. And as an SEO in other platforms, you have an issue that, it's always sturdy and you cannot change things the way you want them. Either your developer has to do it, and I think designers had the same issue. That's why they fell in love with Webflow, because they needed a developer, right? Or either you're bound to some sort of template or some sort of field setup or anything, and you still have to do the best stuff you can. And then I started I built my first Webflow sites. I was amazed of how much better it is. And then eventually what happened is I started meeting people, and I realized that Webflow has a big issue because they were marketing it to designers mostly. They've forgotten that there's 3 types of people that work on sites that are successful. And usually it's a developer, SEO, or project manager and designer, basically business side, development side, and design side. And I started noticing that the community kind of skips this topic as a whole. So that's where the live stream came about. And also another thing was I heard the story many, many times, which is always the same story. We built this amazing site, client paying, 10, 5, 7, 20, whatever K. Client knew their clients so well and knew, so we solved all the UX problems. We made an amazing experience. Then client leaves with their new site. They feel refreshed. The brand is new and spanking and all beautiful and nice. And then 6 months later, client realizes crickets. There's no traffic, nothing coming in. They start looking in, what's SEO, what's content strategy, something. The more you start reading, the more you realize you don't understand half of the words. And what happens then? They hire some sort of digital agency or SEO agency or whatever. And then first order of business, we delete your beautiful UI UX Webflow site. We launch a new WordPress template on whatever, and then we change a few colors. We publish 5 blog posts, and that's that. So that's how it kind of came to be that to Webflow community, as in, hey, there's, developers and designers. By the way, this is not my thing. Adam Gent he created this concept, but in general, I think there's one part still forgotten in Webflow world. So yeah, that's a quick intro about me, why I'm here, why I do what I do, and why I like doing what I do. And yeah, and you also know me as this guy from Twitter that does that all the time.
Yeah, I see them all the time. Yeah, and I think what you're talking about is so true, because that's something that I also lived a lot, because I used to be a growth marketer before being a Webflow developer and designer. And it was that clients think that they can just hire you for a month, create 2 blog posts, add a bunch of keywords onto their website, and then suddenly they're just going to show up on the first page, on the first place of Google. And it doesn't work like that. It's literally constant all the time.
Yeah, it's literally the opposite of that, honestly. As far as the opposite as it can go, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, for example, this guy, what's the name of this guy that's like a super marketer? I think he's Indian or something like that. Well, he's like Patel. What's it? What Patel?
Neil Patel, yeah.
Yeah, like that's why he's so successful. This guy is pushing content through multiple platforms all day long, every single day. Like that is literally how it is. And I think it's also like the volume. But anyway, stop. I don't want to like take over. So take it on. Tell us
Okay.
what you're
So
gonna.
I prepared some stuff for you guys. In general, I just kind of think that there's, let's start from the beginning. What is not SEO? So alt tags is not SEO, and health scores on Ahrefs, that's not SEO, and performance scores on Lighthouse, that's not SEO. That's the cherry on top if you do everything else right. That's what is needed as that glazing on your perfect cake, as the helper, as the tiebreaker helper. Let's say if you have a perfect site, perfect content and perfect links and everything, and then somebody else has the same and yours is significantly faster, which this will result in better user experience. Therefore, Google will get better signals to that users behave better on your site because they bounce less, because the site loads faster, and a lot of other things. But in general, that's not SEO. So let's get that out of the way. That's why if you're a designer or developer that was thinking to maybe offer SEO services to your clients or something, I have a take on what's SEO. And if you're not offering any of these, so you're not producing new content, creating new pages, doing that, and creating backlinks on other websites, I doubt you're actually doing any SEO, and I doubt you're actually going to move the needle. So that's my kind of take. It can be called a hot take, not hot, but I know that works, and I've proven it, many times. Where was it? Here with my clients, we take designer build, we delete it, we start from scratch. We use the same design system, but actually build a decent build, and then it goes like this, right? It goes up. And we launched this build without even a blog. So these three categories are not even, needed. So these frequently asked question and resources things are not the ones that are ranking, but this is the system that is ranking. So there's like 52 SaaS features, 6 categories that group those features into clusters, and that's how we do it, right? And interesting fact about that is now from the audience. This is clicks at what time I took a screenshot of that. Guess where the homepage is? Any guesses, anybody from the audience? So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages that we see clicks and impressions of them. Which one is the homepage?
The first one?
Nope. Homepage is here. So that's what good SEO is. The more pages get more traffic than your actual homepage, that the better your SEO strategy is. Because homepages, and especially in Webflow, they should not be optimized for anything but just the brand name. And we will get there when we talk about different search intents, and then it's not navigational. But honestly, you should not optimize your homepage for anything other than that. From your homepage, everything has to be reachable with 3 or less clicks. So that's usually just a avalanche of internal links. That's your homepage. That's the goal. And also you want to do a good impression. So you can do, actually, when I work with designers, usually say go nuts on the homepage. I'm just going to add 200 links when you're done, internal links, but do whatever you want because I don't care that much, right? So yeah, so coming back to what is SEO and the way I understand sites, this is how I understand sites. This is my site, for example. This is my agency site. Each one of these are pages. Each one of these are search intent optimized pages. They're aiming at specific type of task that we do. And that's what helped us to, rank in well, now it's a bit down, but position 1 for Webflow SEO agency, I think, or which one? One we still don't rank for, but there was a period in time when we did that. So yeah, so that's my site. That's how you think about the words that you're using, and it's just legitimately my site, just a screenshot of that. And if you produce content, you're gonna do this. So you're gonna be scaling that sitemap to the moon. You're gonna be always adding more. You're gonna be always expanding. So you have to build your CMS to sustain that growth, and that's usually where the issues come. That's why every CMS collection, that's how I prepare client builds for MVP. So these CMS collections you see here, that's a SaaS build that we planned in the beginning. We might end up launching just 2 and then add others, but it's usually 10, 15 collections because it's very simple. In terms of SEO, it goes like this. Small site, 10, 30 pages. The only website type that can stop at this like roughly 20, 30 page mark is local business sites. If you're building a site for somebody who just has, is a local mom and pop shop and they want to rank in their local industry doing whatever, that's usually just like, 8 service pages and then a few pages for different locations and this and that. And then that's usually enough. In more competitive niches, like maybe law in New York, it's also a local business, but then it becomes, nope, that doesn't work anymore. But if it's like a local mom and pop shop, not a lot of, so then you plan kind of 20, 30 max pages, and that's usually doable with good content and a few backlinks. Small site is 60 to 100 URLs in sitemap. That's usually MVP for any SaaS website because there's no other way. And again, this example from over here, as you can see, it's roughly 60 pages. That's what we launched. That's day 1 on launch. And that day 1 was roughly here. And then it went up. And as you can see, only 3 pages rank up all the traffic, and then all other 60 were misses. So the more shots you take, the more likely you're gonna hit them. And the more shots you hit, the more other shots start working out in the long run. So coming back to the sizes, that's the way I see this. In Webflow, it's very easy to do that, but yeah. And then, so any small, medium company should also aim for that roughly 100 page mark, because that's usually, I promised I'm gonna clip one tweet from one guy from Google. He literally tweeted not that long ago, if you have 30 blog articles on your site, it's really hard to call you an authority on anything. So and this guy works in Google, so think about that. And I think aim for most Webflow clients we have, and the ones I see is usually roughly around this mark, so a medium site, right? That's because we're around this time you usually start running out of ideas, and optimizing and deleting all stuff becomes more valuable than creating a bunch of new stuff, because you usually run out of ideas and you become top authority in your industry. So in this we have like established sites for SaaSes, we have medium companies that are actually going big, or especially international companies, and smaller e-commerce builds. So for example, me and my wife just launched an e-commerce site. We launched around this mark on day 1-ish. Some of it is still drafted, but roughly that's what's in CMS.
Can I ask a question before?
Sure.
How do you you launched an e-commerce site with your wife. You just launched it, and you have 300 pages. How the hell do you get there?
Well, so SEO is business strategy, and my wife has a few Etsy shops, and had. By the way, tell me if it's too loud outside, because I hear cars passing by. I don't know if you guys hear it, so I hope it's not annoying. I'm going to try to be closer to the mic. So, we have one Webflow build, which is digital products that she's selling, and it's kind of set on autopilot and forgotten. And now we launched an actual physical shop. So the way we did this was very simply, she started selling that type of product on Etsy. And she came to me as like, okay, it's time to make a site. I'm like, okay, cool. Make me a spreadsheet of every possible combination of every possible product that you can ever have in 10 years, even if you expand to, 3 million in sales per month. And she made it. It's like 10,000 lines of variations. And then we start from there. And then you start developing those products. So on current version, there's like 200 categories. That's why I said like some of it is still drafted, but we already have photo shoots coming in. So and then you develop 60 products and 60 again, and you go like this, because you know that you have to cap. To make this a successful build, you have to basically cap 15,000 CMS products variants cap on Webflow. And it's already successful. It's ranking it. So from Etsy, she's getting like a decent salary, but it has to go bigger than that. So that's how we plan. Usually,
So okay, so then you create different variations of one product with the Webflow e-commerce.
All right, let's see. Let me think of an example. Actually, we're lucky with this industry, so it's very programmatic in nature. You can swap words around, and because there's like color, thing, and accessory on top, right? So the industry we are in, we're quite lucky with that. Some other businesses might not have this advantage. Though still, I mentioned here it's a small e-commerce site. It's really hard to call any site that has like 30 pages e-commerce, just because you will probably never rank for something unless you're the only one offering this. But if you're not, then there's always Amazon, there's always Etsy, there's always anybody else. So why Google should show you as the best source of that product when there's places that thousands of sellers sell the same stuff,
Okay.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question? I think I didn't answer it.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to like understand from that perspective, like how to actually rank like that. Like I can't, like I'm just thinking about myself. Like if I wanted to open a skincare brand and I have a lot of products for skin care, how am I going to make sure that I rank enough? I can create like 1,000 fake products. You know what I mean?
You're not creating 1,000 fake products. I have Dutch things here, but let's try this one, right? Think about it. This is like 30 categories. This is, you see, they already have category tops and then don't have the subcategories. This is again 15. This is again 20 more. So we have 60. You see where this is going? It's 200 categories without even thinking about it. And then we have 300 brand pages, and then we have each one of these categories. So let's go all cleansers. And we have here, 8? You see how this is going?
Okay, yeah. So this is like a full, full store, like a Sephora type of thing that sells a lot of products. So what happens for like a small business? Again, let's say that I start my own skincare brand and I want to start marketing it or doing SEO for it using Webflow. How can I do that to ensure that I can get to a good ranking on Google?
So Google is simple. Be the best.
Well,
but really, this is the hard truth. Why? Look, think about it. Like when you think from user perspective, you are looking for something, right? You are looking for, I don't know, skincare, vegan skincare, right? Why would somebody want to find a shop that if the whole let's say whole shop is only vegan skincare, they don't work with other stuff, only vegan. Niching down is good, but this shop right here has 25 pages, 600 vegan products. Why would you want to see a page that has 5? You as a user, you Google something and they give you 2 options. Say, hey, you either can go here where they have 600 products, vegan skincare products, or you can go to this page. They barely started, they only have 5, but they're cool guys. We like them. Does this answer the question?
Yeah, exactly. Of course.
So same goes with Webflow in any industry, be it SaaS, whatever. Yeah, so to save time, continuing on the content stuff. So if you are not making maps and creating long-term plans of content and then writing the content itself and then publishing it, and you don't see your site as this, as I see it, this is my site, by the way, where every page is connected to everything, and kind of focusing on how to cluster everything and internal linking systems and all that stuff. I doubt you're doing SEO because I have this kind of distinction where designers see information architecture like this, and we see information architecture like this, like a complex topical map where everything is connected to everything, and we have to work out a system that clearly makes this mess into a coherent, structure. Otherwise, crawlers cannot understand it, and a lot of other things cannot happen. So that's content. And the other one I'm going to just skim real quick, links. I don't even specialize in this. I usually partner up with others that are, but here on Flow Ninja, this is my article, this is my backlink and things like that. So if you do that, then yeah, sure. But if you don't, then you don't do backlink link building, then at least you have to do this, because without even link building, it's possible to rank for. So this keyword right here is like difficulty 56, and we ranked with no backlinks just because there's 60 pages that support that one page to push it up and be good at it. So yeah, but as a Webflow designer developer, what you have to understand is, so I see a lot of people using personas, and this is a good example of same user persona, two different people. And I think as a website people, we should kind of skip that. That's good for branding, but that's not good for websites at all. So I propose, guys, try to learn about what is search intent, right? And that's something that will change probably your understanding about online things forever, right? So I always take this word stream graph. I'm planning to make my own one day, but it's just too good and too understandable. So there's 4 search intents on the web. There's actually more, and there is another way of thinking about search intent to action words. Then even looking for porn online becomes a separate search intent. But let's simplify it and say there's 4, because that's 4 categories of different pages on your site, on everybody's site, on whatever. So informational is, I'm aware. By the way, I don't know if it's, wait, let me try to make it like 300 maybe. So informational search intent is not blurry. Everybody can see this?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. So informational search intent is, I know that I have a problem, but I don't know where to start, and I have to learn something more about it. So if it would be Webflow, website development, people who need websites, they would ask things like how to build a website, what to know before building a website, website building tutorial and things like that, right? So here the question they propose is like how to fix a flat back tire. We know, and the search intent is not what you type in, not the keyword, but what actually you're trying to achieve with that. That's where you have to start thinking about that part. So how to fix a flat bike tire, we know one thing. Search intent is very simple. Somebody has a flat tire at home, and now they're investigating what to do. So they're problem aware, right? So they are problem aware, right? Another one is, so the next one is commercial search intent. So I learned enough about my problem, and I'm aware of the solutions that exist there, right? So this guy learned that, okay, so I have to change the inner tube for my bike tire, right? And in Webflow, that would be, best website builders, best CMS, best whatever, compare WordPress and Webflow, because they're already aware, okay, so there's something called CMS, there's something website builder, I need this and that, and I need to hosting, and okay. So they learned that, and now they're trying to find solutions, investigate which ones fit them best. So that's why action words are best, review, compare sites. And so in informational search intent, we find usually articles about how to, why, when, what is the best advice, tips, whatever. In commercial, we see a list usually of solutions saying, hey, 10 best website builders. In informational search content, websites make money from ads, and commercial search intent websites make money from affiliate revenue. Therefore, they don't care which laptop you buy. They will get a cut from all of them. So best gaming laptops, they don't care. The site doesn't care which one you're gonna pick. So yeah. So these are preparing, and then the next one is transactional. This is where every Webflow designer, developer, website owner, business client wants to, focus only on this, forget everything else. Unfortunately, internet doesn't work that way, because you have to give some sort of value in return. And usually, informational value is a great place to show Google that you're authority in your industry. Transactional is very simple. I already know what I'm gonna do. I already know what I'm gonna buy. I know the model. I know which software I'm going to choose. I know that I want to take action. I want to buy, log in, create account, Webflow template, click on that, press, buy, go, create my site. So in this case, it's like it could be even as more obvious as not even buy bike tubes online, but also bike tube for this diameter, this brand, this type of tube. So take action. And then the last one is navigational. This is your people are already converted. So it's very simple. Webflow, CMS, connects Webflow CMS to components. That's navigational. I'm aware not only about the brand, because I have to be brand aware to look for this. So I have to be not only aware of the brand, probably I'm already converted user, just looking for specific information. It can be legal information, privacy policies. It can be your documentation, things like that. So Webflow, for example, has a huge navigational database of, we all know there. We've been there. It's Webflow University and other stuff. So that's your navigation. So every site has to have all these types of pages. When, not necessarily on start, of course, you start with transactional, but you have to evaluate all those transactional pages. So this CMS, this SaaS client is a good example. We found almost 60 transactional pages. So we made features and grouped them into 6 categories, and that's it. And then every possible problem that we solve has a page optimized for that one solution. And then, yeah. So.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
It kind of fits a bit into typical sales pipeline-ish, but it actually doesn't, because it ends with action, and then there's next step after one, retention. So if we would add retention here, it kind of fits, but also I would not fit it. So better if you don't try to fit this, because it kind of, if I rotate it and I kind of put it here, it kind of fits, right?
Right.
But I wouldn't do that, because it's a bit different and it's a better way. So then you're grouping people not by user personas, but you're grouping them by problems they have. This guy doesn't know where to start. This guy doesn't know what to choose. This guy doesn't know where to do it. And this guy knows everything but has a specific problem and knows that we exist. So it's kind of, when you're creating a page, you're always thinking about that. And when you're thinking about that, of course, in SEO, we do that all the time. We just look up, by the way, I had my written explanation of the same stuff. So if anybody wants to screenshot, let me know. But in general, I think I kind of explained all of this. But in general, that's how we plan the site. That's how you know that, okay, so these 3 CMS collections will work to solve informational problems. This one collection, which is like, I don't know, like Webflow does it, Webflow versus Shopify, Webflow versus WordPress, and Webflow itself has those pages, right? So this will self-commercial. We're going to compare ourselves to other stuff intentionally. Informational Webflow is writing about design and new stuff and things like that, right? And then transactional is the one where it's actually Webflow templates, Webflow, and then that's how we do it. And navigational is legitimately just the university stuff that we have. So when you're planning something, which by the way means that you also do it in pairs. So CMS collections come in pairs to work for SEO. So I do this all the time. I call, for example, same SaaS build, as you can see, just full version, and this is just the MVP version, right? So
Before, I'm just trying to think also like what goes inside of each one of these items. So we have our feature collection, and then we have the features category.
hi.
Can I, for example, like if I want to increase, let's say, the Flow Party's SEO, or I want to start a strategy for the Flow Party SEO, and let's say that I create a collection in the website, and then I have my recordings as a collection list, and then I have each item, it's basically a video with a rich text describing a little bit of video using some keywords, and then linking those or using a reference field to link those to the categories that they're going to be bucketed in. What should be the structure inside of those items to make sure that they're the most SEO friendly?
Okay, so let me take not Flow Party, because so that everybody listening can relate better. Let's take a typical agency site, which I'm looking at right now, right? And these are your categories. These are 4 things we offer. We offer content, publishing, things like that, writing services. We offer SEO, the way you understand it, whatever you want. We offer authority, which is just change it for backlinks. And we offer full website management. That's my one collection. That's my service category. And I usually, to keep URLs short, I do the services, as in services plural, right? We pick one of those, right? And we go inside. And then you have a Webflow SEO Expert Agency. That's our H1. By the way, fun facts about those who never heard this. This is my H1. And if you can see on the side, and then this is my H2. And then.
So why do you do it like that?
Because then the issue with optimizing content for SEO is if I turn off the content and I give you my heading structure and you read this, and you're gonna clearly know what the site is about without me needing to explain anything, right?
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, but then marketing copy is different, right? We want to be bold and cool, and and we want to make bold claims, and we want to scare people into submission and things like that. So that's a pro tip. So coming back to this, we have category. There's a few fields here, nothing fancy, but in general, if we go to my category, we just have H1, which is optimized for that category. If we go to another one, it's Webflow Content Agency. If we go to another one, it's Webflow Link Building. If we go to another one, it's Webflow Website Management. That's very simple, right? That's obvious H1s, right? Titles work the same way. Then we have all the services we offer for search, for SEO here, right? So we offer all the services that you need to do. We do the same for content, right? We offer all sorts of services.
And those are your H3s, right?
And these here, are my H3s, which, by the way, come from this whole category of services, which is like 58 different things we do.
Got it.
And if we go into meme generation, well, we have memes for your Webflow website. Now, the funny thing about SEO is if I copy this and I paste it into Google, I rank for it. But you're going to notice that not the page that I just showed you ranks for it. It's service. Yeah, it's the top level category ranks for it.
Oh.
So why it ranks for it? Why shouldn't this page rank? Well, it might, but this page has more authority, backlinks built to it, and things like that. And it mentions in one of H3s that it does that. So Google assumes that this page is very lean and simple, and it's not needed. Probably that's not the search intent. If you scroll this low, then probably you need an actual content agency that can do more than just memes. So
interesting.
Yeah, so that's how pairs work in Webflow, and it's never just like blog category. By the way, called just blog, and then blog, Webflow, blog, marketing, blog, whatever, and then call articles, not blog/article name or whatever. That's because you will start running out of names because you always need doubles. So here I have services and I have service. Webflow really rejects this approach, but then when you do it this way, then it works, because then slugs are short, readable, understandable, and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of why everything comes in pairs, because you have to have these supporting pages to cluster up your thing. So if I want to rank for, I need to have a page like this, and I have to have they're linking to relevant stuff, and every page links back to the same. And there's internal linking is another story. That's 2 hours. I could talk about it. It's another magic, but it's simple, by the way. Fundamentally, it's quite simple.
Well, but tell us like the overview of that, so we know. Or
internal linking?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Well, I don't have resources now. I think, yeah. Okay, so there's two types of links, which, by the way, on my site, I only use one. So I'm a bad guy. I should not use one, right? There's two types of link. There's contextual links, and then there's navigational links. So navigational links are what crawlers will understand that have a repetitive pattern. And the problem with Webflow that you can easily turn this CMS collection lists in Webflow are kind of a bit of both, but I would say by default 90% navigational, 10% contextual. And if you really go nuts, like I did on some client builds, you can turn them into contextual, but then it becomes really bizarre information architecture. So the difference between two is your navbar links, right? Your footer links, these are navigational. They repeat every time. They help crawlers to understand most important pages of your website, but they have least value because they're everywhere. They're always the same. I always link to blog on 2,000. If I have 2,000 pages, I link to blog 2,000 times. That doesn't mean that I add any semantic value to it, right? Crawler doesn't get anything more than just blog word mentioned 2,000 times when this link appears. Now contextual links are one second, guys. So contextual links, right? These are links that are inside your rich text fields by default. It can be a bit different, but in general, you see how many stuff we link on this article. We link to all sorts of stuff, and that's contextual, because then crawler can read this heading, right? Get some context from that. Aha, they mentioned this. Then they link to this using this anchor text, right? Okay. And then they talk about this afterwards. So therefore, this page is probably about, and then crawler knows better what it's about. So contextual links are way much more valuable, and they're designer's nightmare. I know, I've been there. But in general, they're much better for SEO. They provide more context, given that content is good, because then we actually, provide some sort of semantic meaning to each page that we have, and we can have variations on different pages. When we link to the same page on one page and another, we use here, we mention it one way, there we mention it another way, and then that helps to kind of explain what kind of value keywords and search intent that page has, right? So this is a very good example. Hosting your website on Webflow, we click on it, and of course we have hosting explained, and okay, cool. And we mention it in page and performance area, and also we mention some sort of stuff here. So therefore, crawler reads what's before, after, and say, okay, so I get it out better. So yeah.
Got it. Okay, understood.
That's the shortest version I can do.
No, yeah, super clear.
Yeah. So that's roughly it. And then after you kind of start doing this stuff, start building everything in pairs, that was probably very loud. And understand that stuff, and understand that in Webflow, the biggest issue that is every collection can be a blog post, even if it's not even a blog post, right? I can have a 7 rich text field in this feature page, and by the way, another pro tip, which again I'm naughty not for doing on my own build, but I always do for my clients. When you have a rich text field that pulls from a paragraph field, always use not a text block but a rich text block, because that's the only way to add contextual links. I'm naughty here, but I should just drop in a rich text field and change those fields to rich text fields, so then I can highlight something and link to it as opposed. You can do limitations on word count and a lot of things, but that's what I do on most of my client builds when they show up and they say, hey, it's not ranking. We have this site from this agency. Here you go, blah, blah, blah. And then the first thing I usually is I open CMS. I go to their CMS. Sorry, my bad. I open their CMS. I go to their CMS. I go to, this. And I legitimately just, this field, I create a rich text field below, and I migrate it downwards so that we can now start linking to stuff, right? So for example, content, I can link to something, and then content updates, I can link to something else, and things like that. So instead of text block, use rich text blocks. That's simple, but I know it's annoying, and if you give clients this freedom, it's usually so. Don't worry, I'm going to do it later. So yeah, where were we? Oh yeah, so that's pairs, and then afterwards, SEO becomes a bit more other stuff. Then we come back to what is not SEO. Then the cherries on top are, creating formulas for meta titles. So not even because you have a lot of pages, so you have to have formulas as opposed to just writing every single time it. So this is an example of formula we use for one SaaS build. Then so basically we just have we have a text block, a one sentence that fits whole collection. Doesn't matter how many hundreds we add, as long as we follow this rule of how to construct it. Which, by the way, is completely possible on other tools, not Webflow. Yeah, and that's that. Then indexing is another problem. Indexing is clearly just link to everything, link as much as you can internally, go nuts on internal linking. That's my agency site. It indexed 70 pages on day one. That's it. Done. Schema is another beast. There might be some tool coming from us for that. So that's a teaser. And then, yeah, actually that's a teaser because where is it? Where? Yeah. Anyways, and then content. And then when you have, here's an example of one of my clients, which I didn't even do SEO for them. I just wrote 10 articles for them. And then because they already had this many pages, we can 4x their traffic. But that's usually, this team already knew SEO and they were doing good. They just needed somebody to help them. And I wrote 4 articles and went from 10K to 40. Now it's down because we stopped publishing, but I just, during this spawn, published this. So yeah, that's it. That's what I had, kind of. You just have another stuff. This is how you manage content, and this is internal linking systems when you work with clients. This is types of SEO, blah, blah, blah. This is how you think about that clustering thing and how you have to reach everything in 3 links. So it's homepage, then you have some sort of clustered, and you can not divide it more than that because nothing can get more complex. And this is the internal linking stuff I explained. Basically, every time you contextually link, you provide certain type of new context that is not on that page. That's that, guys. Questions? I hope it was not too long.
No, it was perfect. I loved it. SEO can be a little technical, but you explained it perfect. At the beginning, not gonna lie, I was like, what is what? I'm lost.
I barely scratched the surface. Like, I'm talking at Webflow London Conf, and they gave me 15 minutes. I'm sitting there like,
yeah, I know.
I mean, 15 minutes, I can just say nothing.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing for me is knowing how to structure your CMS and knowing that pairing that you have, and like how you separate your collections for more pages to be done like in a second or like in a few clicks is super valuable. And I really didn't see it like that. So I remember before I became a freelancer, I was working with this company and they wanted to do their content strategy. They wanted to create more content. So I took it over and I got together with this guy that really knows SEO. And he told me, just write, like search on Ahrefs, what is the best topic around that. It was artificial intelligence. Imagine that. I had no idea
Is it
about.
that brand?
Yeah, that one.
I have it open actually on Ahrefs.
Yeah, you can actually, if you run it, you will see the jump when I actually started doing it, and then you can see how it went back down when I got out of it. And it was so crazy how literally like cleaning the whole site with on-page SEO after running an audit and writing content, it was incredible how much traffic we were getting after that. Now, from that comment, Ivan wants to know, what tool do you use for SEO audits? SEMrush, Ahrefs, what?
I'm a proponent of Ahrefs. I use both. I work with teams that use both. I can navigate myself in both. There are betters and worses. Each one of them has a bit different benefits, but in reality, I like Ahrefs more because it's more data driven. I would say like this: SEMrush is better if you want to analyze your own site, and maybe you don't have that much technical knowledge, so maybe you want to just by accident stumble upon opportunities. So I would say that SEMrush, then maybe it's a little bit easier. But also they're both equally complex. And then Ahrefs is if you want to go insanely deep into spreadsheets and data and really dig deep, then it's kind of easier. And then the UI is a bit better for that. But again, whatever you like, I would propose that anybody who wants to invest in a tool like that, because they're not cheap, get those. And honestly, for those asking, let me give you a resource. I made a video about it, honestly. So let me just find it for you, okay? Where I listed out all my tools that I use. And it kind of maybe changed a bit since then, but in reality, here you go. This is 32 minutes. Wait, where I was I? Here. So this is 32 minutes of me explaining every possible thing I use in a very casual format.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, go nuts. With questions, that's how gold is born. Yeah.
I have a comment. Opinion, and on top of that, I have the question.
Sure.
So what I understood or could see basically is you have a whole idea of, let's say, the brand, and then you're picking all the keywords of that brand or that big subject, idea, theme, you want to call it. You're picking all of those keywords, and then you're creating sort of like blog post also on that topic, but also you're creating a service page to combine all of them together. So the question is, isn't that a little bit misleading? Because, for example, you had 52 services. Like, are you really like serving those 52? I know you're doing it probably to connect them to the blog post and the whole website, it's connected. But at the same time, isn't that a bit misleading? And my second question is, connecting it with the first comment Melissa said about content and how this guy does content every single day. So how big or how is, what's the importance of SEO if sort of content is king right now?
Okay. So first question was, and then you might need to remind me the second one afterwards. But so you asked about misleading too many pages and...
Not necessarily the pages. I mean, it's misleading the idea. Like, is it misleading the idea that you have 52 services are you really serving those 52 service? Like, are you really doing those? Like, that's my
Yeah,
thought.
okay. So every time a new client shows up, and let's say we're analyzing a new business, right? So you come to me and say, hey, we want more traffic, blah, blah, blah. This is our 7-page site. We don't even have a CMS collection. Designer created, contact us. Developer, designer created, dev designer created, contact us, a few pages for different things we do. And then I usually start, just like as Melissa asked in the beginning, how do you come up with the product list for a site that, what e-commerce sites? Same here. You start at digging deep in what they actually offer. And usually that's what kind of problems they solve. So I solve these problems. I do, for example, I do blog posts, I do strategy, I do on page, I do local SEO, I do a lot of stuff, right? And when I say there's also team members that we have that help me with a lot of things. For example, I write some of the content only on the topics I like. So every business, when they show up at our doorstep, we really take quite a long time. Because usually we've all been there, right? When you ask tough questions to the businesses, they usually choke up in at least half of the situations, right? So you're trying to determine every problem they solve. And for some businesses, it's easier than the others. But for example, software companies usually have no idea about 80% of the stuff they solve. Because they can have a tool that does this simple thing that has like 5 features, but when you start dividing for use cases for those features, and I'm not saying very specific like this industry, this thing, no, it's more of they don't know what their users potential think. So you're trying to drill so deep down into their business and understand every possible thing that if somebody would type that into Google with having this in the back of their head, search intent, which by the way, keywords you type in and search intent is kind of 2 different things, but still with that search intent, and we provide this as a solution, that's a solution for the problem.
Yeah, I want to add something to that as well. I worked with a dog trainer, and she was really heavy with SEO because they were like a, localized physical business. And they had like 20 pages of dog training in every single city in Orlando, in that county. So they were replicating the same page for all of those locations. And then the same thing happens for you. So for example, Gabriel, you are a Webflow developer. Let's say that's your main service. But within that service, you have multiple knowledge items, let's call it, or categories. So you know GSAP, maybe you know JavaScript, you also know React, you know design, you know a little bit of branding, I don't freaking know, graphic design. You know what I mean? So that's what like more like how you should think about it.
And sometimes even go a bit deeper, because sometimes it
Right.
doesn't mean that you have to write like a 2,000 word something about GSAP something, but you can do even smaller pages for, I don't know, GSAP for, I'm just going to spitball something, memberships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you can offer. That's really the hardest job of SEO, sitting down, turning everything into a checklist and determining, like in design, they have atomic design concept. So there's like atoms, molecules, organisms, and then the whole thing, ecosystems or whatever. So in SEO, it's kind of the same way, but you start from the other side. You start from, okay, so what ecosystem do I want to build? This. Then you start looking at examples and realize, so I have to have 8,000 pages because everybody has that. And then you start drilling down, and then the hardest part is determining what's the atom. So what's the single page? When is it too big or too small? Because sometimes you can also be too spammy and subdivide too much. And then you just start cannibalizing yourself. And this is a dangerous thing where you have multiple pages for the same search intent. And then Google says, hey, if you don't know which one of these 4 versions is the best, then trust me, we're not going to serve any of them. Because you should be smart enough to know which one is the best, not, I have 4 versions, pick one, whatever.
And then also that's where trends come in and keywords that are more important than others. So look, for example, that one that he showed of the meme maker. Like he makes memes for SEO, and he ranked at eighth place or fifth place.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea. It's super smart, but at the same time, do you do memes as a service? Oh, okay.
I can make now in front of
That's
you
a whole
30
thing.
memes about any topic. So yeah, I do.
Okay, so that's what I want to know, because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, 52 services, like, really, I mean, I get the idea to rank faster, but at the same time, for example, my thought on that, or my question was, because, for example, you go into a website, and again, let's grab Melissa's idea of like brand, and let's say you look for something like, oh, how do I do a brand guideline? So the first thing, because you enter into somebody's website, or somebody's doing big SEO, and the first thing you click is actually a service page. So you're not getting the answer you want. It's like, why? Like, I'm already hating you, because you rank the first just because, you're doing super good SEO, but you're not giving me what I want.
Let me show you a good example of how you can have both of best words, and that's where actually this kind of comes in. Best projects I work on, we had end developer and design teams, and we made sacrifice for each other, and we also had places where we said, no, wait, this cannot be this way, and this can come from developer, this can come from designer, this can come from SEO. But best projects I ever worked, and they succeeded so fast, was there where there's three, forces, like it says here, mini leadership team, where it kind of works together, and everybody's trying to help each other and trust each other on their advice. Don't want to over push their own agenda or something. It's always like that. Okay, I trust you on this side, but we're gonna use this shade or whatever. So better help, and just type in, I don't know, New York. What did I just do? Sorry, my mic is in the way. I really can't type like that. All right. So look, so BetterHelp is a very known site with very good SEO. And I land here and I see therapists in New York. So if I type in therapist New York, I'm going to land on this page for sure, right? You see where we are? We are in New York, and then therapists. Let's visit that. This is the most annoying, boring page ever, right? But it's needed to cluster things together. Okay, let's come back. We get the important information, and we're gonna click out before we reach the SEO part, and that's where usually a lot of SEO hides. And then at the end, we have this boring text about stuff and things and linking to everything, and crisis hotlines to establish authority, all the postcodes. Because why not? It helps. And then we have questions, and then nobody will ever reach here. And then in the end, we even have a CMS collection list that even helps us with that authority more, right?
I mean, the whole thing is beautiful, but why did they're not combined in design either? Because even if the design could be so much better. Like, the design is horrible.
SEO is, I feel like designers that are passionate about design go against SEO. It's like this forever.
It's like they're pushing forces, and best projects I've ever been, again, where designer was pushing to this end, I was pushing to this, but we would be, whenever we trust each other's thing, I don't know, do whatever. Because for me, I can rank a PDF. I give zero fucks how it looks. And then for them, it's like, does it need to be really here? I'm like, yeah, it needs to be really here. But then sometimes I make sacrifices. They say, well, I don't like that, and this is blah, 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 blah. I think, okay, so is there another way to reach the same effect? And then usually we come up with the most genius solutions.
Yeah.
That project where I showed what everything went like this was exactly like that. I was working with a designer, and we didn't even have a developer. We were building everything out of Reloom. We designed last. So it was design last approach. First, we planned really insanely our Reloom components in Figma, both of us. Then we build it, because we all been there. Hey, let's make this CMS slider. And then you start building. It's like, don't make the CMS slider, please. Thank you very much. especially when you have a site with like hundreds of pages, So, and then we tested that the system works completely still wireframed. And then on top, he goes in and says, okay, now it's my time. We proved, we built it together. It works. Everything is amazing. Let me do now the design on top. And that's how that project was built. Best project of my life. Design last.
So you say the best, I guess like the best stack for having good design, a good build, and good SEO is first doing a good sitemap, then get SEO ready so content comes in. And then finally, once that is done, the designer goes and designs the website in a way that's easy to read and digest. And some of the things that I've seen are like pop-ups, little learn more things that kind of like reveal the rest of the content. So there are workarounds for that.
Sometimes true about the workaround, sometimes not. For example, crawlers don't take actions of your site. So for example, if you use CMS filter and then things show up, then crawlers won't see that what show up. Because it was not in the DOM on initial load. Crawlers wait for initial scripts to load, so JavaScript is not a problem. But what is a problem, if it's something not in the DOM and then shows up. Also, crawlers give less relevance to hidden content. Because if crawler sees that user has to interact with something to reveal this content, therefore, let's say 90% of users won't see it, therefore is less relevant. There's math behind that as well. But also another approach, what you, Melissa, just mentioned, is build design systems, not sites. Because I will scale them when you give it to your client, I will go nuts with my team for years to come. And it will change, sections will swap and things will happen. And so build design systems, not sites, and give them a design system. And I see quite a few people in the community starting okay, I'm not going to name names, but I noticed a few people are picking this up, as in, hey, we build systems. We give you a design system in Webflow that has the basic pages, but then we have like a whole library of components. Because that's how we did with that designer as well on that build, where we designed last. We started building component systems. So we had like 6 style guides or more. And per each component type, another story for another day.
Right.
But that's something to think about, because there's either 2 ways. Either SEO comes first, plans the whole thing, bets on the client's budgets and powers and content capabilities and a lot of things, and then you build it. Or if we come later, then it's way much easier for me. I still haven't solved how to take that when somebody builds a site, client shows up, and we have to, I don't know, go from 7 sections that somebody built to them to 70 just for MVP. And then how, do I show up at the same designer developer? We continue, then we charge again. Like, how does that part work? So I still don't know the answer, because Webflow agencies don't work like any other digital agency for other platforms. But this is a good question. I would love to chat with a panel of people about this.
Awesome.
So I see some questions more coming in, here in the comments.
Oh, let me see. Oh, yeah. So if wouldn't that design side be the homepage, for example, and then deeper in the website, you have the potentially more boring but SEO heavy pages?
Oh yeah, that's usually a 3rd layer. So I mentioned that from homepage, everything for crawlers to understand your site, from homepage, everything has to be reachable with 3 clicks or less. Otherwise, you get into robots, fuzzy minds, and they lose track of stuff and you confuse them. So basically, but the issue that the biggest tip for designers that I have is that assume one thing: nobody comes from your homepage. How does that change the design? Like, everybody comes from whatever tentacle of the site, but not the homepage. And that usually starts the way I saw when I work with them, pops the right way. It starts like, oh, and then they start building a bit of more of a system. Then rather we're going to use this user flow where it's going to go from here to there, and then we're going to carry out the whole lineup. Because best sites will not most users will not come from the homepage. Many can visit the homepage, but best sites, they won't come from there.
Okay. Sol asks, any examples of SEO heavy pages that also look beautiful by any chance? And John shared his website, which has a beautiful design. But if you also know any, just feel free to share with her as well.
So I cannot reveal some of my client builds because that would be showing complete strategy. Even though in this intimate thing, it's just an SEO thing. We're gonna got used to that, and I have an issue with use case studies. So I know one example that I'm really proud of, but I cannot show. But in general, that's a good question. Ask me on Twitter. I might look up something at Search Historian on Twitter. I might think of something, but it's doable. I'll tell you that it's very doable, but just again, two different people have to work together to kind of develop this. And honestly, I'm going to add another thing: beautiful designs, heavy SEO. So Webflow is so flexible, and that's the reason why I quit those sturdy old systems like WordPress and Shopify and moved to Webflow. So we can actually improve on search intent. So let's say you type in okay, let me show real quick. So I know an example. Here you go, share. So let's say we type in best job boards, right? And let me show you. Let's skip sponsored, and let's open top 10 pages, right? So this is a search intent where people are trying to compare different. Wait, this one we should have to quit. I think this one and this one, right? So look, it's very simple. It can be this type of same search intent. I just need to list out different job boards, link to them, and get affiliate revenue from that. So I can do it like this. I can do it like this, ugly.
Actually, John's website, I'm looking at it right now, and it's very nice. Like it has a very nice design. And it has a lot of text, but it's actually very, very nice.
That's what the example that historian showed as well. Like they have like New York, all these cities, like sort of what Joan shared is like in that aspect, but it looks better. Like you can read it.
It's doable. And trust me, let me open it up. So, and it's definitely doable. I'm not saying, but you just have to know what has to be on this page. This is, same stuff. Same stuff. So that's what I was trying to kind of show, that you can do it this way. You can do it this way. You can do it this way, right? Some sort of, you can do the typical old school blog post. Right? Mm-hmm. It's the same format. We're still seeing the same thing. We're seeing how much I can whip up. These guys whipped up 330 job boards. These guys whipped up whatever. These guys whipped up another. This is the data set, so that's another way to doing the same stuff. So as long as you understand that search intent will not change, whether or not you do a blog post, you do this, this is a country-specific example, and then you do this, or you do something like that, or you just go insane on the links, right? Which, by the way, is highlight on links. It's 300 links, which is normal for a page like that. So you want to go nuts on the links, whatever. That's where I know from experience, 200% definitely it's doable. You just have to understand that some components will not be avoidable, and then you can work on them. So after you know those components, that, for example, it's going to be 300 links on this page, then it becomes your design problem. Then you start solving for it. And that's where I think the magic happens. That's where the best builds happen. That's where clients get the best returns on investments and a lot of things like that.
Nice. Okay, and then Bolaji asks, if I'm to start learning about SEO today, where should I start? And how should I go about offering an SEO as a service?
Rank a site.
Rank a site?
Rank a site. That's how you start offering SEO as a service. You can either rank your own site, and then take on projects in similar scopes, or you can rank somebody else's site for free.
Nice.
And where to start learning? So there's too many different types of SEO. There's programmatic, there's parasite now works the best, and that's an ugly niche, which basically means you're ranking on other sites. So I would honestly, if I would start now, I would look for niche website. There is this kind of industry, I don't know if you guys know, but there's like a thing which is called niche websites, which basically guys that specialize in informational content. So they make sites, slap on some ads on it, slap on some affiliate products on it, make 10, 20 grand a month from their site because they're getting 10, 20, 100,000 traffic. So I would start listening for podcasts. I think there's niche website builders, there's 2 or 3, and then there's Authority Hacker. So let me type that in. Those 3 kind of specializes in niche sites. So it's a specific form of SEO, but it's one of the search intents that they specialize. They specialize in mostly in, not mostly, but informational and the one where you compare stuff, right? So those podcasts usually have people on that are running those types of projects for a living. So Authority Hacker, niche site builders, something like this, I don't know. So why I'm saying here, not technical, not stuff, not just blogs, where there's a lot of cool blogs about it, because you will start to understand website business better. Like how, because you want to get how e-commerce SEO works, and then other aspect would be, if you get how e-commerce works, then you will start seeing it everywhere. So you're going to start seeing it in all SaaS everywhere, because it's always category and thing. It's never nothing different. It's always blog category and a post. It's always feature and then sub features that we have. It's never different. It never changes. So I would say I would learn about niche sites a bit. Don't get hooked and addicted. It's not that simple as they make it, because everybody wants to launch a site then. But if you get hooked and know that, if writing for 6 hours every day for next year is your thing, then yeah, go nuts. You can actually make some money from it.
Nice.
Are you using AI?
I started using Jarvis on, I think, not alpha, but initial beta. I used Copy AI for past 2 years, and ChatGPT, never in December it got released or something. So when it comes to content and sites, AI is a toddler that lies. Crawlers can spot those lies, and the issue is that only 10% of different content types that we have can be produced with AI without heavy editing. So the answer probably to your question is yes, you can use it, but you have to know that it's 1 out of 5 stars when it comes to quality. Even though if the grammar looks amazing.
Do you use it?
Huh?
Do you use it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I've been using it since Jarvis came out 2.5 years, 3 more probably years ago. I was one of the first users. So yes, because I produce a lot of content, so therefore, of course, I use it. But in general, I stopped. So Jarvis, I could only use it for 10% of my client work for those 2 years. Now, current iterations of especially ChatGPT and others are a bit better, but there's so much content that they cannot make that is just crazy. And also certain types of content it's easier to write yourself because they will not get the heading structure right. So you have to write the heading structure perfectly and then spoon feed AI paragraph by paragraph, and then force it to rewrite that paragraph a few times, which at some points, when you can write 3,500 words an hour or 2,000 words an hour, sometimes doesn't make even sense to others. But I have industries and I have sites where it works. So I would say it's getting better, but as everybody's using it, there's way much more shit than before online. And also, the issue is you have to think about your user. What the user wants that And Google also has a guideline. I'm going to type it in here. It's called EAT, if anybody wants to learn. It's a rater guideline of how to know what content is good and bad. And it was EAT, and they recently added another E, which is experience. So AI cannot show experience, and your site has to show experience, that you experience the thing. And currently now, even a core update is rolling out where they're butchering everybody who don't show experience on their sites. So they're losing traffic. And the issue is that AI is good, but you have to know that it's a 1-star, temporary, good enough. Let's move it out through the door ASAP, but then we still have to come back and actually somebody has to put the brain and thought process behind it.
Nice. Great.
Any other questions, Heis?
I think that is it. Thank you so much. It really, really, really was super, super useful. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing all this information. If you want to share resources on Discord for people to check it out so they can learn, feel free to do so. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to answer any kind of specific especially those who ask like how to start to learning or tools or things like that. If you can drop those again, maybe not today because it's late here in Europe, but I will definitely not miss it. Especially if Melissa pings me on Slack, and I might reply with a better prepared example. So happy to help on any kind of resource stuff, and then I can share not one but like 10 blogs and then a few podcasts or whatever. So if just that thread stays, then I would be more than happy to give it a moment of my time and actually think about it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Search Historian. I'll see you on Twitter. I love your memes. And yeah, thank you so much.
I'll see you in London, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be in London.
Okay, so see you in a solid month more.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm actually speaking there.
I know, I saw. I was looking at the people that are going to speak, the speakers, and I saw you and I'm like, oh, cool. So we'll meet over there.
Me and Matthew from WhaleSync are the only 2 guys across 4 cities that have something to do with SEO and are on stage. So I'm actually very happy that Webflow kind of recognized that there needs to be starting to be more. By the way, at this time, they're doing a workshop, which I kind of sign on, but it started the same moment about SEO. Webflow is doing that. You saw, guys?
Oh, yeah. I saw it. Yeah, cool. Super excited to meet you. There's actually, so Gabriel is coming. Maria, who's here, is also coming. Rahul. So these people here, you're going to meet some of us there in the conference. So
yeah, I'm going to have more questions in person.
Sure, go for it. I have still time.
That if you think that SEO is going to be dead in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's been dead since 2002, so I'm not afraid. Every year, one of the most popular SEO keywords people look for is SEO dead. So I'm not afraid about that. And I've been living happily out of it for a while. So.
How many blog posts can you create out of that?
But regarding the whole changing landscape, just personal opinion, again, nobody take this as a deep analysis. I don't have a lab of 30 people working, SEOs working for me, because there are companies that actually have that, like laboratories that they test a lot of stuff. And Lily Ray on Twitter, follow her. She's one of them. She owns like legitimately a lab. So, and I'm kind of quoting her a bit here, so really worth mentioning that. But in general, the way I see this, it's becoming, Google is pushing for, people don't follow websites, they follow people. So therefore, Google is pushing, especially with Advent, with increasing content from AI, it becomes more and more important to gain that trust from crawlers by being as transparent and showing your experience, authoritativeness, trust, and so basically prove that you will help and will not harm. There's 2 parts to that EEAT concept. Really, you're the most valuable, and you're really not going to hurt them. And Google introduced EET, I think, in 2013-ish, I might be wrong. Maybe 2014 and 2013 was the radar guidelines, but something around that time. And they introduced it because there was an issue. Every schmuck with a website can write about medicine and tell you how to treat your body. And then they can lie, and then you can hurt yourself by taking stupid advice on the internet. Same with finances. Every schmuck can tell you what to invest your money in. And now Google is kind of then responsible because you Google how to invest my $200 in what's the best, and then some schmuck tells you a scam, and then bam, it hurts you. So Google created this term called YMYL, which is basically your money, your life. And these are sites that if their advice is bad, they will hurt you either financially or biologically or something like that. So your body can be hurt or your finance can be hurt. And that's where EAT came from. Like, show that you're a source, show that you're accredited, show that your face, show your socials, show everything, show your business details, phone numbers, email, everything. Like, you have to be completely transparent. And not only that, you have to be expert in your industry. Did you do it? Have you had experience with it? Have you actually done this before? Does it work? Do you have pictures where you actually are doing it, not just taken from the stock? So that's where that's called a medic kind of update, and then later a few others followed, which basically that's why there are some industries where are extremely competitive because ranking for medical terms is really hard for that reason, just because you have to build so much momentum to just see the lift off the ground to prove that you have only doctors in your writers panel and things like that. So that AI thing is like this. Up until roughly 2018, it was always like just your money or life niches, but we started noticing that there's more and more and more. Those things work also on other niches, which basically gave proof that these guidelines are not only for this subset of the internet, but all the internet. Just if you choose to use it, it's going to help you. And guess where we come? Now we have AI. Now we have every schmuck can launch a website in 5 minutes. And what we rely on then as a society, because SEO will not be dead up until there's search bars. If there's search bars, there's SEO. Platforms can change. It can be on TikTok, not on Google. It can be on some other platform that's not still invented. As long as there's that bar with a magnifying glass at the end, where you type anything in, press enter, there's going to be SEO always. So that's where, if Google disappears, that's where SEOs will migrate gradually. Where's their search bar, there we're going to migrate. So that's what I kind of think.
I feel content creation is that
new SEO,
yeah, video.
It's
Come on,
like podcast is the new radio. So
right.
Go on.
And those rules same apply. Honestly, if you can pick my brain and you want to do a podcast, for example, and YouTube works the same way, right? So I have a channel, there's usually 100, 200 maybe views. In summer, it was a bit down even from that. But because we talk about very niche down thing, not a lot of people can bear 1 hour of this, not a lot of people. But those who love it, and then it's gradually growing. And then you publish something on a video on some topic that is searched for. And this was SEM-flow review. And it just pops up a few thousand. Why? Because it's SEO. Because I picked a topic. I bought Pate's tool on day before he even announced. Because I was already scouting before he even announced. So I knew the site before it was happening. And then I bought it as soon as it was possible. He published, I think, update only next day. And I bought the tool, started testing it, made a video, published it. It's a coincidence or it's SEO? Because you know that this, as Melissa said in the beginning, there's trends and they happen. So you know that this thing will be searched. And it's not that I'm trying to game the system. I'm just generally happy that there was first ever SEO tool for Webflow.
So like Gen Zs, for example, now they don't search on Google. They search on TikTok.
Yeah.
And since I heard that, well, I have this friend that she's sort of like a Gen Z. And she was like, yeah, girl, no, I just search everything on TikTok. And now I've caught myself doing that because Google is so saturated with bullshit. So, for example, like best, I don't know, clay mask for my face. If I go on Google, I'm going to get these magazines that are obviously getting paid by the brands to
And they don't
That's
care
what
which one you're going to buy,
I'm
because you're going to get a
biggest-
cut every one on the list.
right. So then by going to TikTok, I know that I can find a creator that is going to be super honest, say the real truth about which masks are the best.
And 3 years from now, that's going to change to the same scenario. Like on YouTube.
Yeah, and then a new
So
thing.
on YouTube, on Instagram, by the way. So that happened on Instagram, right? Now you can trust Instagram. And you search there for best face mask. So same 2 years, 3 years tops. So that's where SEO is going. Every time there's a new engine, people start abusing it. And every time people start abusing it, there's like a system that develops just because there's so many of us.
Everybody
Yeah,
wants
let's talk
to
about Thread. That is dead already. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see anyone talking
God,
about it.
guys, what the hell happened? Right, it lasted like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And in Europe, during those 2 weeks, we couldn't even get an account because it's forbidden by our laws.
That's what happens to Instagram for copying everything.
Yeah. So that's kind of on the topic of where it migrates. It's always changing. It's honestly, I'm really proud of Google. They're doing their best. Like for Google, I really vouch for them, not because I make money from them, but because they really, given the circumstances, given the amount of data, but really, given the circumstances, given the amount of data, they're really doing a good job. And each core update shows that bad things are penalized, and there are a lot of bad things like parasite SEO that works. It's insane. I don't know if you guys know what parasite SEO is, but it's now working 100%. So now you and me, so Gabriel and me now decide to launch a company, right? And we're going to be an affiliate company, you and me, okay? And we're going to make a lot of money. We're going to be going for insanely competitive keywords. We're going to slap affiliate revenue in it, and we're going to make a bunch of money. Because, ranking for best gaming mouse, that can be $100,000 per month profits just from affiliate revenue or something. Okay, cool. So we're going to be the best company, Gabriel, right?
Right.
Do we need a website? No. And that's parasite SEO. Yeah. So now, so we go to Forbes and we say, hey, Forbes, how much is an article on your site? And they say 900 or they say 9,000 or whatever they say. We don't care because we're going to make in 100,000 a month. Okay, cool. Let's write about best orthopedic pillows. That's what we're going to write about. And then we write that whole listicle of best orthopedic pillows. We sign on every possible affiliate program that allows us on. We slap a bunch of links in it. We put all the stuff together. We send it to Forbes. Forbes publishes it. Forbes has so much authority that they rank for that in position 3 on the next day. Then we start building links on top to not our website, to Forbes' website. Then it ranks in position 1. And now we're making 100 grand a month from links on Forbes' sites. That's parasite SEO, and it works extremely well.
Do you always gotta do it by paying, or can you do it by picking your competitors' keywords and using them?
So you're abusing the fact that Forbes has so much authority. They have like domain rating 99 or whatever. So you're abusing that. So now you cannot go to Marseille's friend's agency website and do the same thing, or because you're trying to save on links, right? If I want to rank for best gaming mouse, I think with Marseille, we had this chat in in the podcast that it says like, hey, how much would it cost like rank for best Webflow agency or something? And you look at it, it's like, no, 10 grand would be a good start, like then we can start thinking maybe it's possible, That was my kind of on top of my head looking at Ahrefs. So you're trying to save money on that. You're trying legitimately not to invest in your own site, but invest in one page and then pay somebody that they have the authority, so you don't have to spend, because one link costs $200 to $300 to build, because somebody has to find it, get in touch, get approved, write the content, add the links, publish it, then get approval. And then also websites usually ask for some sort of publishing commission. So they say, hey, publishing is 100 or whatever. And then, so imagine how many man hours goes into building one, especially when everybody's doing it. So you know how many pages, bigger sites, how many emails they get. Hey, link. Hey, please link. Ha, ha, ha. We are happy to pay. And that's like a never ending story. So you're trying to abuse that fact. You're trying to abuse the fact that you don't need to go through you can rank tomorrow as opposed to 3 years from now. And in many industries, that's the case. Like if you want to rank for something very competitive, then it's like 200 grand investment per page. Maybe that doesn't bring you much. But if you rank in position 1 eventually, then it's maybe 100, maybe even $1 million. There's a lot of things that traffic would shoot this much money for one page.
Ongoing process as well?
Sorry?
Do you feel this is an ongoing process all the time? Like if you're doing SEO, it cannot be one moment type of thing. For example, if I'm doing your website and I'm gonna do SEO on it, is it just one thing? Like, are you gonna charge me? Like, how does that feel or see? How do you sell it?
Oh, like how my services work for stuff like that?
Not necessarily yours, but like how SEO it should be better, like as a current thing to have, rather than saying like, oh yeah, I'll pay you SEO to rank, let's say to 1, but like, okay, how? Like, am I gonna do the 3052 services and it's gonna rank 1 already?
Oh yeah, no, it's a lot of things. It's not that these kind of things that I mentioned, take this with a grain of salt, like 100K and we're going to rank for it. These usually are terms for saying with that, we definitely should be able to show some sort of authority, but also all other pages on your site will benefit from it. So it's never, because you never build one page, you build like a cluster. And link building is the same what I showed you, just it's across the internet. So we're building relevant site topic articles on random sites online that link to ours. We do that many times. Does that remind you of something? That's category and posts. Yeah. So we're doing that, but now we're leaving our website and we're going on different sites. So that's where it's never one thing. And also it's like that GIF that I love so much when people ask me on Twitter. It's like, when one of us shine, all of us shine. Because you have internal links that everything is connected to everything. It's like a big, system. Whenever one page goes up, well, guess what? Now something that ranks higher is linking to your page, even if it's on the same site. So now that page also goes up. So it's kind of starting to grow gradually, and yeah.
Also, how do you see it as, like, how would it be best, like, to do something obviously as an ongoing thing? But for example, instead of doing the 52 services all at once and publish, do it by day, let's say, like the articles that you're mentioning. Is it better that I do it day by day, or is it better if I do the 10 articles one day and publish 10 of them at the same time, same hour, instead of every day type of, like, as if you were doing content creation, let's say, because it's obviously content as well. It's just that you're linked.
I still have probably like 3 or maybe 4 services that don't have content in it, but it's published. So
okay, then yes. Okay.
So that answers your question. But in general, why you do it this way? It's because you have to link to stuff when creating content. So if I don't know all the URLs that exist in the future, I will have to then, after publishing something, come back and review my whole site. So if I know the whole extent of this is our version 1 or something, it's easier to link to stuff, even if it's a 404 for a few days or for a few weeks. It's natural. Google approves 404s. It's actually not an error, even though it shows on Ahrefs. Why? Because websites are always like that. All the internet's like that. Things are changing. Websites disappear. I link now to FinSuite, and tomorrow FinSuite stops working. I have a 404. How long am I going to have it? Maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe a year. you know. So same here, like with your own site, you can link to stuff that doesn't exist, but of course, then you should eventually publish it. So, but I would say every day doing something on your site, that's usually SEO. My wife does that. Like she has this many tasks, and still every day I force her to at least sit down for a while and, you know, internally link 5 pages. Yeah, okay, good done, thank you, goodbye. Because she kind of hates that a bit. Not hates, but more of a, she loves it, but she loves the aspects where it's new pages coming up. And that part she loves, like more, you know, because then it feels good. You know, you open a category, it was 3 products yesterday, and now it's 22, you know. Yeah, guys, I think we can be
Wrap
done for today.
Yeah, we
Still recording, by the way.
no, but it was such a fun conversation. I really loved it. I didn't really think that I was going to be like so into it because, you know, I'm more like design, but I loved it. So thank you so much.